Trump derangement, it just keeps ramping up. Today was a big day for it. Joe Biden's out and about, yes, not being interviewed or questioned. He doesn't like that sort of rapport. But trumpeting the stock standard anti-Trump rhetoric. In his latest instalment today, he said President Trump is the country's first racist to be elected to the White House. Now, what's the translation for this? For the woke lefty brigade, anyone who doesn't toe the PC line and calls COVID-19 the China virus is a racist. Have a listen.
I genuinely mean it. And what President Trump has done in going his spreading of racism, the way he deals with people based on the color of their skin, their national origin, where they're from, is absolutely sickening. Yeah. No sitting president has ever done this. Never, never, never.
Trump did get a chance to reply. It was at a press conference, one of the few that he's holding on coronavirus at the moment. This is what he had to say.
I've done more for Black Americans than anybody, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln. Nobody has even been close.
Stephen Conroy, what do you think about that little joust?
Well, firstly, on a serious note, Biden has to be careful. Trump has decided that China is an enemy because he believes he can use it as a domestic weapon against Biden.
Yeah.
He believes Biden is soft on China, but if he's going to exploit that softness that he perceives, he needs to create China as the biggest boogeyman in the world at the moment. Now, China are doing many things that are despicable. If you look at the Uyghurs, you look at their behaviour in the South China Sea, etc., we've talked about. But seriously, Trump trying to pretend that he has done more for African Americans than anybody else but Abe Lincoln is not Trump derangement, that's Trump delusion. And Trump is, now he's holding his press conference. He won't have Fauci in the room because Fauci will still contradict him when he says stupid and wrong things. It's too embarrassing when Fauci rolls his eyes, puts his hand to his face to cover his exasperation when Trump says the things that he's been saying about coronavirus. He's had 2 days where he's tried to pretend that he cares about coronavirus. The only reason he cares about coronavirus is because his voters don't want to die of coronavirus.
Yeah, he's learnt that. He's learnt that. Those in the Midwest in particular, they have lost faith in him over the fact that he sort of wavered on the importance of the coronavirus. So he's changed tack, and that's what politicians do, and that's a good politician when they start listening to the people. But back on Biden, Bronwyn Bishop, the fact that you call COVID-19 the China virus is more a dig at the incompetence of another country than a racist remark, surely.
It's not racist at all.
No.
In fact, it's just a matter of fact. It was a virus deliberately sent out from China by putting the infected people onto international flights when they'd cancel their domestic flights and sending it out to the rest of the world.
But if he wants to go and bat for China, Biden, Stephen's right. It's not the tactic to employ.
Well, Trump's, I believe, will say, run on two things. China is the enemy. That's a matter of fact. Secondly, he will run a law and order campaign because he says the Democrats are simply letting chaos reign. But more importantly than that, we now have people saying that it is not racist to demean and insult white people. Now, if you've got to that stage, the word racist has really lost its meaning. It really is, and people have to start standing up for themselves. Just as we stand up for our country, we've got to stand up for ourselves as well.
Yeah.
And having this term thrown around left, right and centre is not achieving harmony between anybody. If we said we are in favour of having respect for every individual, because that's what I believe in, the philosophy of individualism, that every individual matters and is important. If that was the philosophy that was about, we'd be a lot happier place.
Yeah.
But when we simply start to call people racist because they might say something that you mightn't agree with, then it has lost its meaning.
Final word to you, Matt Canavan. I want to know, look, Trump has changed tack big time on the coronavirus, on masks. He's decided to read from a prepared script for most of these press conferences. But having said that, isn't a politician doing the right thing when He listens to his supporters about how he should back or handle particular topics and issues. Isn't that a good thing for a politician to do that?
Well, look, I haven't seen the press conferences, but it sounds like the right thing to do. It has been a little ironic, I think, that Donald Trump has copped so much criticism over the handling of the coronavirus, when in fact he was actually ahead of the game at the time. At the very start, people forget now, he shut the borders, the US borders to Europe, and he was heavily criticised for doing that at the time. He was one of the first to shut borders with China, although I think we might have shut our border just before. So he was right on the case and did what the federal government could do. Obviously, he himself has had a few missteps with some of the communication and language, but when you think about it, on the substantive issues, Donald Trump has taken action to try to prevent the spread of the coronavirus through the United States. Some of the actions at the state level seem to have not quite been up to the mark, but on presentation, on communication, he has had to improve, and I think this is a smart strategy. All
right, there's so much to be played out in terms of America and the coronavirus and the impact it has on the election in November. No doubt you'll get all the updates right here